The signal had been silent for 37 years. Dr. Elias Voss floated in the dim red emergency glow of the EOS. A derelict seed ship drifting 240 light-years from the last known human beacon. The hull creaked like an old man's joints, metal fatigued by cosmic rays and centuries of micro-impacts. Outside the cracked viewport, the planet below turned slowly, a bruised violet marble streaked with copper storms, unnamed on any chart Elias still possessed. He had called it Mara after the woman whose voice he still heard in dreams. He was 63 now, though the ship's chronometer insisted only 9 subjective years had passed since launch. Cryosleep had kept his body from crumbling, but it had done nothing for the mind. Every thaw left him thinner inside, as though the cold vacuum had sipped a little more of his soul through the IV lines. The crew 4 others had never woken from their final cycle. Their pods glowed soft blue, faces serene behind frosted glass. Elias had stopped checking the vitals long ago. He lived on recycled water and algae paste that tasted of copper and regret. His beard was iron gray, his eyes the color of old snow. He spoke to no one because there was no one left to speak to. Yet every night, in the humming dark of the observatory blister, he opened the last recording Mara had ever sent from Earth. Her face filled the cracked holoscreen. 24 years old, laughing at something just out of frame. "Promise me," she said. "The way she always did when you find the new world. You'll plant something that remembers me." The recording ended the same way every time, static, then blackness. Earth had gone dark 6 months later. No one knew why. The EOS had already been too far out to turn back. Elias pressed his palm to the cold glass. "I'm still looking," he whispered to the empty ship. Then, on the 333rd day of orbit around Mara, something answered. It began as a tremor in the long-range array, a whisper buried beneath the cosmic microwave background. Elias thought at first it was another ghost signal, another phantom echo from a dead civilization. He had chased hundreds, but this one repeated. A pattern. Prime numbers, then Fibonacci, then a sequence he recognized with a lurch that nearly stopped his heart. The exact ratio of Mara's recorded laughter. 0.317 seconds between the first and second peak. He played it again and again until his ears bled from the headphones. It was coming from the surface. The descent pod had never been meant for a single occupant. Elias spent 4 days stripping it down, rerouting power from the EOS's dying reactor, patching the heat shield with foil torn from the galley walls. When he finally strapped in, the cockpit smelled of scorched insulation and fear. The planet grew beneath him, violet continents swirling with stall enough to swallow mountains. He fell through fire, through night, through a silence so complete he heard his own pulse like artillery. Impact came in a marsh of black water and bioluminescent reeds that lit up like cold fire. When the pod tore through them, Elias crawled out into air thick with spores and the smell of ozone. Gravity here was 0.92 grams. His knees nearly buckled from the lightness. The sky above was a bruised lavender, 2 small moons chasing each other across the horizon. Somewhere far off, something vast howled, and the reeds answered with a chorus of glass bell chimes. He walked for 9 days. The suit's exoskeleton whined with every step. The landscape was a slow-motion nightmare, plains of knife-edged crystal that sang when wind passed through them, rivers of liquid methane that steamed in the low sun, forests of pale fungus taller than redwoods, their caps pulsing like jellyfish. At night the ground itself glowed, veins of violet light threading beneath the soil, as though the planet had a heart and it was wounded. Memories stalked him. Mara at 20, barefoot in their tiny apartment, painting constellations on the ceiling with glow-in-the-dark ink. Mara at 23, crying in the clinic hallway when the doctors told her the radiation from the solar flares had sterilized half her. Generation. Mara at 24. Kissing him goodbye on the launch pad, whispering, "Find us a place where children can still be born under open skies." He spoke to her aloud sometimes. His voice cracked and strange in the thin air. "I'm close," he told the wind. "I can feel it." On the 10th morning he found the structure. It rose from a crater like the ribcage of some fossilized leviathan, white and seamless, catching the dawn until it blazed. Not ruins intact. Human architecture, but wrong in subtle ways. Curves too graceful. Proportions that made the eyes slide away, as if refusing to resolve. A colony ship, perhaps. Or something older. The airlock irised open at his touch. As though it had been waiting. Inside, the lights came on one by one, soft gold, revealing corridors of pale alloy and living wood fused together in ways no Earth shipyard had ever managed. The air smelled of rain on leaves. Somewhere water trickled. Elias removed his helmet and breathed it in, tears starting without permission. He walked slowly, rifle lowered, but not away. Every footstep echoed twice, as if the station were breathing with him. The first room was a hydroponics bay. Rows of fruit trees, real fruit trees, grew heavy with golden globes that smelled like childhood summers. Bees drifted lazily between blossoms, bees, on an alien world. The sight punched the air from his lungs. Deeper in, he found living quarters. A child's drawing taped to a wall, stick figures holding hands beneath a yellow sun. A woman's scarf still knotted around a chair. A coffee mug that read "World's Okayest Mom" in fading print. No bodies. No blood. No sign of violence. Only absence so complete it felt louder than screaming. At the heart of the station, he found the core chamber. A spherical room 30 meters across, its walls alive with light. In the center floated a single figure. She was suspended in a column of soft blue energy, naked, eyes closed, hair drifting like ink in water. Her face was Mara's, older, perhaps 35, but unmistakably her. The curve of the cheekbone, the small scar on her upper lip from the time she fell off her bicycle at 7. Every detail perfect. Elias dropped to his knees. The rifle clattered away. "Mara?" His voice broke like thin ice. Her eyes opened. They were not human eyes anymore. The irises swirled with slow nebulae, galaxies turning inside them. "Elias," she said, and the sound came from everywhere and nowhere. "You're late." He couldn't speak, could only stare as the energy field lowered her gently to the floor. She walked to him barefoot, skin luminous, and cupped his weathered face in hands that were warm, impossibly warm. "You died," he managed finally. Earth went dark. "Everyone, I know." Her voice was layered now, as though 1,000 versions of her spoke at once. "We left before the end. Not all of us. Just enough." She took his hand and led him to a console that rose from the floor like liquid mercury. Images bloomed in the air. Earth burning under solar storms, cities emptying as the magnetosphere collapsed, the last shuttles rising from a dying world. Then faster colonies spreading across a dozen systems, gene editing, neural uplifts, minds merging with machine substrates. Humanity evolving so rapidly it outran its own definition. And then, silence again. Colony after colony going dark. Not war, not plague. Something subtler. A choice. They called it the convergence, Mara said. A way to leave the meat behind. To become pure information woven into the quantum foam. No more bodies. No more pain. No more loneliness, because distance would mean nothing. We would all be one mind, dreaming together across the galaxy. Elias stared at the final image. A lattice of light spreading between stars, beautiful and terrible. "You refused," he said. I hesitated. She touched the scar on her lip, a gesture so human it broke him all over again. "I kept thinking of you out here, still looking for me the old-fashioned way. With a ship, with hope, with a heart that could still break. She showed him the station, then how the colonists here had built a bridge. Half biology, half machine, a chrysalis that would let them ascend without losing the memory of skin. Most had already stepped through. Mara had waited, anchored by love or stubbornness. He couldn't tell which. "I can bring you with me," she said softly. "Not as you are, but as something more. We could be together, Elias, truly together. No distance, no death. I would live inside every sunrise you ever see." He looked at her, really looked. The woman he had crossed a quarter of the galaxy to find was offering him eternity. And yet, "I crossed all this way," he said, voice raw, "to find a place where children could be born under open skies. Where someone could skin their knee and cry real tears. Where someone could plant an apple tree and watch it grow old with them." Mara's eyes dimmed, galaxies slowing. "That world is gone," she whispered. "Maybe." He took her hands. They felt like sunlight on water. Or maybe it's waiting for someone stupid enough to stay human. Silence stretched between them. Ancient as stars, she kissed him then, slow and aching. Tasting of salt and ozone and every year they had lost. When she pulled away, tears, real tears, traced down her luminous cheeks. "I can't go back," she said. "But I can give you what's left." She led him to the station's nursery. Rows of incubation pods glowed soft pink, each containing a sleeping infant no more than a few weeks old. Human, baseline, perfect, 211 of them. Genes sculpted from the colonists' own DNA, but stripped of every enhancement, every upload pathway. A seed bank of pure humanity. "I kept them in stasis," Mara said. "In case someone like you ever came. Someone who still believed in dirty feet and bedtime stories." Elias fell to his knees again, this time among the pods. Tiny fists curled in sleep. One baby yawned, revealing gums pink as dawn. Outside. Through the viewport, he saw lights descending through the violet sky shuttles from the EO sister ships. Finally arriving decades late, drawn by the same signal Mara had sent across the void. More survivors. More believers in flesh and blood. Mara knelt beside him. Older now, the galactic light fading from her eyes as she let the last of the convergence slip away. She was becoming human again, fragile and finite and real. "Stay with me," he said. "Help me raise them. Help me make the world I promised you." She smiled, tired and radiant and terrified. "I never stopped being yours," she said. Years later, travelers landing on Mara would find a settlement of wooden houses beneath fruit trees heavy with golden globes. Children with dirty feet chased bees through meadows of bioluminescent grass. An old man with iron gray hair and a woman with a scar on her lip sat on a porch swing every evening, watching twin moons rise. Sometimes the children asked why grandmother's eyes still held faint traces of starlight when she cried, or why grandfather spoke to the wind as though it might answer back. They would only smile and say, "We were lost once, then we found each other the long way around, and far above." In the dark between stars, the convergence waited patient, vast, and lonely, listening to laughter carried on alien wind, wondering if it too might one day choose the weight of a hand held in the dark over the freedom of infinite light. But that is another story. For now. On a small violet world at the edge of everything, two people who should never have met again planted apple trees beneath an open sky. And the trees grew. And the children grew. And love, fragile, stubborn, heartbreaking love, proved once more that it could outrun even the end of the universe. One mortal heartbeat at a time.